You have spoken about Hungary moving towards an autocracy.
Yes.
And we would like to ask you, is it that bad? Are we really witnessing the weakening of the Hungarian democratic institutions or a clear move towards an autocratic regime, which is not necessarily the same? The weakening of a democratic institution and the establishment of a...
Yes.
There are different phases,
Of
maybe,
course,
of a process.
of course.
So, and if
Hungary is
if
still
yes,
better than China and
yeah,
Russia.
yeah, not in economic growth, but
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
And so, where are the most pressing issues, and where is that those that oppose this tendency should be acting? In if you want a
Very
synthetic
difficult
way.
question. Perhaps the first part is easier to answer. The new government, which came to power in April 2010, changed not only the constitution, but also a series of legislation which we call cardinal laws. And most, if not all, of these cardinal legislation led to the destruction of what we call checks and balances in a democratic political environment. They castrated the Constitutional Court, which has almost no right to make a decision on anything anymore. Whenever they made a decision, they changed the constitution the next day, so that there was no way for the Constitutional Court to apply its decision anymore. They seriously curtailed the independence of the judiciary system, including the tribunals and the judges. They tried with every possible way to curtail the autonomy of the central bank. They eliminated what we called an independent fiscal council before. The state audit office was also changed in its character, and now it is serving basically as a police department for the government to dig up corrupt cases of the previous regime, which is not a bad thing. I would agree with that if that was not the only purpose for this institution to exist. And last but not least, I can also mention that the new legislation on the media curtailed very, very significantly the independence of the both print media and electronic media, except for the internet, because that is not
And
under
hopefully
anybody's-
accept also
yes,
for the CU
control.
Weekly.
Exactly, yes. So I think it is a fair characterization when I say that it's a illiberal democracy at least, and an authoritarian regime at worst. Now we will see whether the government will change the election system and the electoral legislation in such a way that they can perpetuate their own power after the next elections. The signs are not very encouraging, because they, for example, want to introduce an open registration system for all people, where you have to register not only your name and every other so-called physical data which is necessary for the system to work properly, but also your party affiliation and your potential inclination how to vote.
Dangerous,
It's
without
very
a doubt.
dangerous. It is clearly opposed by most people. They already drew all electoral districts according to their tastes, sometimes openly and brutally to their own favor. So I would say that the system is clearly getting less and less democratic, and it is not against the will of the Prime Minister, because he himself, even before the election, said very clearly that his example to follow is the authoritarian regime which prevailed in Hungary between the two world wars, with a so-called centralized power structure, which would occupy most of the power in all institutions and all sectors of society. So, unfortunately, everybody who feels that democracy is an indispensable element of a modern society should be worried. Moreover, as an economist, I cannot hide my disappointment that, and that can be also considered a truly conservative way of thinking. Without freedom, there is no bread. So ultimately, by destroying political freedom, the government intends to limit seriously economic competition, the pluralistic nature of the economy. They fight tooth and nail against the IMF. They made life miserable to many foreign investors in Hungary. They try to nationalize important enterprises. They changed the procurement system in such a way that only their buddies and cronies can win. So it's an attempt to weaken not only the pluralistic structure of the political system, but also the pluralism of the economic system. So these two things go hand in hand, and that's why I keep saying that the opposition have to realize that it's not only just the economy which is in danger, but these two things are closely interrelated, and the only way to restore democracy in Hungary would be for the opposition to unite and produce a joint program for the restoration of democracy.
Yeah, thank you, Professor. Now it came to my mind a former Minister of Foreign Relations from Mexico. I remember her mentioning that there was
Castañeda?
no.
Okay.
Rosario Green from the old school,
Okay.
more pre-PRE
Sí.
old school. And she mentioned once that without market there could not be democracy, and without democracy could not be a market. So somehow maybe that relates a bit. But
I respectfully disagree with that, because experience shows that you can have a market without democracy. Think about China. Think about Chile under
Pinochet.
Augusto Pinochet. Sometimes dictatorial regimes are based
good outcome,
on
legitimacy.
markets, because they feel that economic pluralism would be less in a position to challenge their autocratic way of managing the political side. But the opposite is not true. You cannot have democracy without market economy. So that's why, with all due respect, I disagree with those Marxist socialists who still feel that you should have an overwhelming position of the state in the economy, while at the same time you can afford having a multi-party system. I don't believe that for a second, and there has been no one single example whatsoever in history where that could have materialized. Whenever there was an attempt to nationalize the economy, sooner rather than later,